Greetings to those who watch below. Today we're going to take our monthly look at some of the paranormal tales I've found while researching other videos. But before we start, I'd like to say thank you to those who dwell below, an exclusive channel membership that gets you shoutouts at the start of every video. So thank you to Steffi Ray, Lisa Watts, Lefty Kim, M.A. Wade, Julie B, Jess Black Curtin, Christina Groves, Chris BLK Chris, Canopsia, Tegan S, The Real CFED22, and a very special thank you to Wicked Witch, who is celebrating 12 months as a member of Those Who Dwell Below. If you'd like to join them, make sure to check out the link in the description box. Also, you can find me on Instagram at brimstone_below and on Facebook at the Brimstone Below Horror Channel. Also, I'm over on the creepypasta.com official YouTube channel. If you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe to both this channel and to creepypasta.com. Doing both those things really helps me out. But for now, sit back, relax, and enjoy. That one room in my basement. Before I get started, I don't really believe in ghosts. That's mostly because I've never seen concrete evidence for their existence, and because the thought of ghosts existing creeps me out too much. But lately, I've been thinking that there might be a possibility that they are real. The house I'm currently living in is from my deceased grandparents, and it has a ground floor and a basement. It's in a really peaceful area, and I love living here. However, the basement is creepy. I was around 10ish when I first stepped into the basement, and, as most kids would be, I was scared by our basement. I avoided going down there, and when my mother would ask me why, I told her something along the lines of, "I think someone is down there." Typical behaviour for children. This fear never left me though. I'm now an adult, and this area of the house still gives me the chills. It's not the whole basement, but just one room, my siblings' gaming room. The rest of the basement isn't creepy at all, since we have lights with motion detectors everywhere. However, whenever I get near that room, my heart starts racing, almost as if I'm about to have an anxiety attack. I don't know why, it's so confusing. Once I'm in the room, I start sweating and feeling as if someone is watching me. Sometimes I see shadows out of the corner of my eyes. It's just creepy. The door to that room, which I always close, has frosted glass in it. I've noticed multiple times that I see silhouettes moving, which shouldn't be possible. My fitness room is next to the gaming room, and I'm able to see the motion-triggered lights go on whenever someone goes into the other room through the little gap below the door. Often, when the lights go on in the other room, I blame my family, thinking that they might be there. But the lights also go on when I know for sure that no one besides me is at home. This has happened multiple times. I've already told you that I feel like someone is in that room, and for the longest time I believed I was just crazy. Maybe some fears of my childhood stuck with me, or maybe it's just hysteria. The odd thing though is that my girlfriend also dislikes that room. When she first slept over at my place, we went into the basement to get some alcohol. She, however, stood in front of that room and wouldn't dare go in there, and told me that she would wait for me. I didn't give it much thought and chalked it up to her not liking basements in general. A few months ago I told her that there is a room in the house which always causes me to panic, and within seconds she asked me, "The room across the stairs, the gaming room?" I asked her how she knew it was that room, and she replied that she felt like something was in there, therefore she avoids this place. She also told me about seeing shadows out of the corner of her eyes. Mind you, I never talked to anyone about my feelings toward that specific room before then. It's been getting worse. I see the shadows more often, and I've started to notice some odd noises, like rustling and something softly tapping on the door. It might just be my brain playing pranks on me and wanting to hear something spooky, but it's slowly driving me insane. I need to know what might cause this, and how I can fight my irrational fear of that one room. I'm really, really desperate, because if it goes on like this, I'll never step a foot into the basement ever again. Did I invite a shadow man into my home? Last year, I was about to go out. In our front door, my dad and I mounted a simple camera that shows who's ringing the bell for a few seconds. I don't know why, but that afternoon I felt the need to check the camera. The first time I pressed the button, just the empty street and my dad's car showed. The second time was the same image, but now a neighbour with a dog came by. The third time I pressed it, there was a human-like figure right in front of the door, completely black, no eyes, no face, just the figure. It scared the crap out of me, and for a moment I froze. After that, I opened the door, but there was nothing there. I kept the incident to myself and went on with my life. 2 weeks later, I woke up in the middle of the night. It must have been something, because I never wake up at night. So I unplugged my phone and checked the time. It was exactly 4 a.m, which was quite weird. Then I heard footsteps on the stairs right outside my bedroom door. I know all my family members' steps, but this wasn't one of them. I pretended to be asleep and peeked through a half-open eye at what was going on. Beneath the gap under my door, I saw a shadow moving closer. I looked at my door handle, which I could clearly see moving. At that point, I got absolutely terrified. My door was slowly opening up. That shouldn't be possible. Firstly, I always close my door, and when it's open, it shuts itself. Anyway, my door opened, and the handle jumped back into place. There was literally nothing there, except for the intense feeling of being watched. My door was fully open and stayed there for a few seconds. After that, it slowly started to shut itself as normal. Then all of a sudden, it seemed like something pulled the door and it closed with a huge bang. I was shaking in bed and forced my eyes closed. I stayed like that until the morning. Before you say this was a nightmare, when I opened my phone, I checked an email, which was still opened that morning. There wasn't a single window open that could explain the door opening. My family does not sleepwalk or anything like that whatsoever, and my sister was awoken around 4 a.m. because of the door that slammed shut. I didn't dare tell my family what happened. I'm 1000% sure that this was not a dream. This was true horror, and I still wake up some nights around 4 a.m. Could I have invited something into my home when I opened the door when I saw that shadow man? The ghost of the upstairs neighbour. There was a brief time in my life where I lived in a haunted location, and there was one specific event there that spooked me good. I say location because for my entire life, someone or something has been trying to do me harm, and I've had to take precautions to keep it at bay. This haunting was unrelated, or at least that's my belief. After arriving at my first duty station, I quickly worked to get out of the 1960s dorms and into a place of my own. There was a guy who I got along with well enough that he mentioned that he and his wife were looking for a roommate. We went through the whole process of vetting and such, and I moved in. For various reasons, this arrangement lasted maybe 7 months. After a bit of time with no issues, I began to get that stereotypical "you're being watched" feeling, especially when alone. Having 2 dogs and a cat in the house that never seemed to freak out about it put me at ease. A bit of time goes on, and little things start happening. Things will fall or move or go missing for no reason. One night, we had a glass plate just randomly somehow fall out of a cupboard and smash on the floor below. Checking the cupboard and the plates in there was no plausible explanation for why this occurred. We began jokingly referring to the entity as the ghost of the upstairs neighbour, as for months we'd hear the upstairs neighbour making noises at all hours. Then one day it stopped. Likely the guy just moved out. My friend and I began to share past experiences with unknown forces. He had had an experience with a Native American ghost out west where he'd come from, but that's a whole other story. The big event in question was on a night where he and his wife went out for a date night, leaving me alone with the 2 dogs and cat. Until about 8 o'clock, things were fine. I was playing some game on the couch with the animals in their usual spots. Then I started getting the usual feeling of being watched, and tried to ignore it. All of a sudden, there was this tension in the air. It was hot and heavy and hard to breathe. For the first and only time I'd ever seen, the animals freaked out. Meow, the cat, ran towards the married couple's bedroom. Odin and Zeki, the dogs, completely stood up and started growling, snarling, and being aggressive towards a spot close to the TV. I couldn't see or feel any presence per se, but all of my internal alarms were going off. It's at this point that I very carefully and slowly turned off the PlayStation and TV, preparing to make an exit, and the crucifix above the fireplace flew off the wall. Not super far, maybe 2 feet where it landed from the fireplace, but when it happened, the dogs jumped back and one of them barked. I grabbed the smaller one in my arms and grabbed the big one's collar and started running toward my room. God, just remembering this again is making me a bit jittery. We get in there and they both get on my bed as I'm slamming my door shut and turning the lights on. I quickly moved to also shut the ensuite bathroom door, as the bathroom was connected to my room and the main living area. The big dog spent the remainder of the night with eyes locked on the door, and the little one occasionally growled but stayed attached to my hip. I called my roommates home and told them everything. They didn't appear as spooked as I was. I did think about trying to get Meow, but frankly, he liked to bite me anyways, so I wasn't risking going out there for him. I think I went around the house the next time I was alone and tried to send the spirit or demon out, but I didn't feel very confident. At the time, I wasn't all that good a Christian. My friend was technically a Catholic, though despite his experiences with the paranormal, he was leaning towards agnostic. His wife followed a specific form of Buddhism, I do not know which though. The house just felt off in terms of spiritual energy, but maybe I was just paranoid after that event. Smaller occurrences still occurred. There was more than a few nights where I kept the lights on all night, and the one other notable event was towards the end of my time there. The couple by this time had a child who was crying every night, and I wasn't having that, so I opted to move out. A short while before my departure, we were standing in the living room, talking nonsense, when the door to my room violently slammed shut. My friend was drunk, and we were already a little excitable. Rather than being scared at the time, this made us slap happy, laughing hysterically about the ghost of our upstairs neighbour. Incredibly shaken skeptic. I've never believed strongly in ghosts, and I consider myself a pretty big skeptic. But today, I think I now feel a bit differently. I was lying on my bed, finishing a conversation on the phone. I was laying there for a second, just kind of decompressing after a long day of work. My bedroom light was not on, but the hallway light was, so despite the dark room, there was some light coming in, especially by where I was laying close to the hall, where the door was open. My cat was laying at the head of my bed, curled up. I cannot think of any explanation for this that makes sense, but suddenly something swooped across the room above us. It was like a big black shadow. It was enough to disturb the light coming into the room. I can't explain it, but it just felt like something was above me too. I immediately snapped my head up to the ceiling, and at the same time my cat had looked up too, clearly startled. She didn't get startled from me, she was looking around just like I was for something else. We both looked up to the wall, where my only window is, as the shadow moved that way, and naturally there was nothing there. I looked back at my cat because I knew she had also seen it, and she was sitting up, looking around the room. My other cat, for what it's worth, was in the living room and didn't notice anything. I peeked out the blinds, thinking that perhaps I had misinterpreted a shadow being cast due to car headlights poking through the blinds, since it's currently 11 here and I live in an apartment building. No cars though had pulled up, and there was no one outside. I glanced around the room a bit with the light on, because this morning there was a moth on the wall in my room, but I didn't see it anywhere. Then I checked to see if it had landed on the hallway light, but nothing was there either. My cat, meanwhile, was watching me wander around. Never before in my life did I ever have anything happen that I'd consider a strange encounter. This was the very first time. I cannot explain it, but I just felt like something was there. It gave me a surge of anxiety. I don't know what it was, but I will never forget this happened. It was just weird. Hi there guys, thank you so much for listening to today's video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to leave a like and also subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I'll be back tomorrow with some more truly terrifying tales. So, until next time, sleep tight.